Hi there, and welcome to today's video. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most important and impactful things you can do for yourself: self-acceptance. In today's world, it's so easy to compare ourselves to others. We see people living seemingly perfect lives on social media, and it's easy to feel like we're not measuring up. But the truth is, comparing ourselves to others only hurts us in the long run. It leads to feelings of insecurity, inadequacy, and self-doubt. That's where self-acceptance comes in. When we learn to accept ourselves for who we are, flaws and all, we can start living our best lives. We can focus on our strengths, celebrate our accomplishments, and embrace the unique qualities that make us who we are. In this video, we're going to explore the power of self-acceptance and give you practical tips and strategies for how to practice it in your own life. So if you're ready to stop comparing yourself to others and start living your best life, then stick around. Let's get started. The problem with comparing yourself to others. Now that we've talked about what self-acceptance is, let's dive into why it's so important. Specifically, let's talk about the problem with comparing ourselves to others. We've all done it at some point. We see someone else's seemingly perfect life on social media and we start to feel inadequate. We wonder why we're not as successful, as fit, or as happy as they are. But the truth is, comparing ourselves to others only hurts us in the long run. Here are a few reasons why. First, it can lead to negative self-talk and low self-esteem. When we constantly compare ourselves to others, we start to believe that we're not good enough. We tell ourselves that we'll never be as successful, as attractive, or as happy as they are. This can lead to feelings of depression, anxiety, and a lack of self-worth. Second, comparing ourselves to others can be dangerous because we're often comparing ourselves to an unrealistic standard. We see someone's highlight reel on social media and we assume that their life is perfect. But the reality is that everyone has struggles, challenges, and imperfections. When we compare ourselves to an unrealistic standard, we're setting ourselves up for failure. This can lead to feelings of overwhelm, stress, and burnout. Finally, comparing ourselves to others can lead to a never-ending cycle of perfectionism. We feel like we have to be perfect in order to measure up to others, so we push ourselves harder and harder. But the truth is that perfectionism is a myth. No one is perfect, and trying to be perfect will only lead to disappointment and frustration. So as you can see, comparing ourselves to others only hurts us in the long run. That's why it's so important to practice self-acceptance instead. In the next section, we'll talk about the benefits of self-acceptance and how you can start practicing it in your own life. The benefits of self-acceptance. Now that we've talked about the problem with comparing ourselves to others, let's talk about the benefits of self-acceptance. When we learn to accept ourselves for who we are, flaws and all, we can start living our best lives. Here are a few benefits of self-acceptance. First, self-acceptance leads to increased self-confidence and self-esteem. When we learn to love and accept ourselves, we stop seeking validation from others. We become more comfortable in our own skin and we're able to stand up for ourselves and our beliefs. Second, self-acceptance leads to improved mental health. When we stop comparing ourselves to others and start accepting ourselves for who we are, we reduce our levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. We're able to focus on the positive aspects of our lives and find joy in the present moment. Third, self-acceptance leads to a greater sense of inner peace and contentment. When we stop trying to be someone we're not, we can find peace in who we are. We're able to focus on the things that matter most to us and find fulfillment in our own lives. Finally, self-acceptance leads to stronger relationships. When we learn to accept ourselves, we're better able to accept others for who they are. We're able to see the good in others and appreciate their unique qualities. This leads to stronger, more authentic relationships. So, as you can see, self-acceptance has numerous benefits. But how do we start practicing it in our own lives? That's what we'll explore in the next section. How to practice self-acceptance. Now that we know the benefits of self-acceptance, let's talk about how to practice it in our own lives. Here are a few strategies that can help. First, practice self-care. Take time to do things that make you feel good and prioritize your own well-being. This can include things like taking a bath, going for a walk in nature, or practicing meditation. Second, focus on your strengths. Instead of comparing yourself to others, focus on your own unique qualities and strengths. Write them down and remind yourself of them regularly. Third, challenge negative self-talk. When you hear that voice in your head telling you that you're not good enough, challenge it. Replace negative thoughts with positive affirmations, such as "I am worthy and deserving of love and respect." Fourth, practice gratitude. Take time each day to reflect on the things you're grateful for in your life. This can help you focus on the positive aspects of your life and appreciate what you have. Finally, be kind to yourself. Treat yourself with the same kindness and compassion that you would offer to a close friend. Be patient with yourself and remember that self-acceptance is a journey, not a destination. These are just a few strategies that can help you practice self-acceptance. Remember, self-acceptance takes time and effort, but the benefits are well worth it. When we learn to accept ourselves for who we are, flaws and all, we can start living our best lives. So, start practicing self-acceptance today and see how it can transform your life. Overcoming obstacles to self-acceptance. While self-acceptance is a powerful tool for living our best lives, it's not always easy. There are many obstacles that can get in the way of self-acceptance. Here are a few common obstacles and strategies for overcoming them. First, stress and overwhelm can make it difficult to practice self-acceptance. When we're feeling stressed, we're more likely to fall into negative self-talk and self-criticism. To overcome this obstacle, try incorporating stress-reducing activities into your routine. This can include things like yoga, meditation, or simply taking a few deep breaths throughout the day. Second, comparison and social media can make it difficult to practice self-acceptance. When we're constantly bombarded with images of other people's perfect lives, it can be hard to accept ourselves for who we are. To overcome this obstacle, consider taking a break from social media or limiting your exposure to it. Instead, focus on the things that bring you joy and fulfillment in your own life. Third, past traumas and experiences can make it difficult to practice self-acceptance. When we've experienced rejection, failure, or other traumatic events, it can be hard to see ourselves in a positive light. To overcome this obstacle, consider seeking support from a therapist or counselor. Talking through past traumas and experiences can help you process them and move forward with self-acceptance. Finally, self-doubt and fear can make it difficult to practice self-acceptance. When we doubt our abilities or fear failure, we may be hesitant to fully accept ourselves. To overcome this obstacle, try practicing self-compassion. Treat yourself with kindness and understanding, even when things don't go as planned. Remember that failure is a natural part of the learning process and that it doesn't define your worth as a person. These are just a few strategies for overcoming obstacles to self-acceptance. Remember, self-acceptance is a journey, not a destination. It takes time and effort, but the benefits are well worth it. When we learn to accept ourselves for who we are, flaws and all, we can start living our best lives. So, keep practicing self-acceptance and don't let obstacles get in the way of your journey. Conclusion. We've explored the problem with comparing ourselves to others, the benefits of self-acceptance, how to practice self-acceptance, and strategies for overcoming obstacles to self-acceptance. Self-acceptance is a journey, and it's one that requires effort and practice, but the benefits are well worth it. When we learn to accept ourselves for who we are, flaws and all, we can start living our best lives. So, I encourage you to start practicing self-acceptance today. Remember that it's okay to make mistakes and to be imperfect. Embrace your strengths and weaknesses and don't compare yourself to others. You are unique, valuable, and worthy of love and respect. Keep practicing self-acceptance, and you'll be amazed at the positive changes it can bring to your life. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.